For me, the main event is about going with the safer option. This is the match between Vitor Belfort and Luke Rockhold. Now, I actually think that Luke Rockhold stands quite a good chance of winning this one. He is on an enormous win streak, having only lost once in 11 matches, and I think the loss was right at the start as well of his career. He's faced some reasonable calibers, and he's a lot younger than Vitor Belfort. Having said that, Vitor Belfort's speciality is knockouts, and Luke Rockhold is a submission artist, and I do feel that if he stands a chance at winning, he's got to be able to submit Vitor Belfort, and Vitor only tends to lose to really high-powered calibers, and only the highest when it comes to submissions. So I think Vitor Belfort will win this. I'm going to go for TKO in the third. Wouldn't be surprised, however, if it was a decision. I do, however, think that there is a small possibility that if Luke Rockhold is as good as all the smack talk is making out, he could possibly win by submission, but I'm not going to back that myself. Quite frankly, it's anybody's guess who's going to win the match between Jeremy Larsson and Lucas Martins. Larsen, not to be confused with Larsson, who's got an entirely different record and not one worthy of a picture on Sherdog or a UFC contract. Not that I just almost made that mistake. This is 8-3 Jeremy versus 12-1 Lucas. Jeremy is pretty well rounded in how he wins and how he loses, whereas Lucas Martins has one extremely good area, and that is striking. He's also got a better record. I'm going to go for Lucas Martins. I shall go for a TKO in the second, which of course will bring Jeremy Larsson 2 losses in a row and probably a swift exit. Of course, if that happens vice versa, it's also going to be rather a swift exit, one presumes, for Lucas Martins, who would also then be 2 losses in a row. If Chris Carriasso can watch the submission, which I believe he will probably win this match by decision. He's fighting Josiah Da Silva, 14-2. Chris' record is 14-4. He has faced higher calibers, and I think he's a bit of a decision king, so I'm going to go for a decision. The only issue that he has to be a little bit careful for is the submissions, because he can fall prey to them sometimes, and half of Josiah's wins are submissions, but I think he should be okay. First off, this does look like it's a slight squash match, but it's not. This is Azamat Gashimov with a record of 7-2. Although he comes from somewhere in Russia, he is listed as being with Jackson's. He is fighting John Linker, whose record is 20-6. So you would immediately think, oh well, being a Brazilian as well, this is one for the home crowd. Probably not, I'm afraid. Azamat Gashimov is good at submissions, and John does tend to lose a little bit by decision. I have to say this is probably going to go that way, so I'm going to go for a bar submission by Azamat Gashimov in the second. It's amazing how some fighters really slip through the UFC's net, and one of them appears to be Fabio Maldonado. His record is 18-6. You might like to know that half of those losses have been garnered in the last 2 years, in which he's fought 3 times and not won once. All of them being in the UFC, and yet here he is again, quite far up the card, despite the fact that they're now getting rid of people, much better people, with 1 or 2 losses. Having said that, I actually think he will. Having said all of that, I think he will win this one. He's fighting Roger Hollett, record 13-4, and I think that he's going to get a TKO. So long as he doesn't, so long as he finishes and doesn't leave it to go to a decision. So I'm going to go for a TKO in the 3rd by Fabio Maldonado there. I'm going to be perfectly honest and say I don't know who's going to win between Yuri Alcantara, 27-4, and Eladi Santos, 27-6. Both have very good records. Yuri's is spoilt slightly recently by a win, loss and no contest, whereas Eladi's got, a long win streak. But before those, the same could be said for Alcantara. I think I'll go for Alcantara by decision, but I could be wrong there. Now, I have to say that I like Paulo Thiago, I do. His record is 14-5, but it's not been going so well in the last couple of years. We've got win, loss, loss, win, loss, loss. He is fighting one of those Brazilians with a whole sentence for his name, Michael Richard dos Prazeres or something. He's got a perfect record of 16, and he actually looks to be he looks like he'll probably be able to get a win here, which means it could be curtains for Paulo, unfortunately. I'm going to say that I think this might end up being a Michael win by decision. It's true to say that Gleison Tibau hasn't had the best of times recently, win-loss being his record. He is 26-9. He is, however, now fighting John Chorlish, 8-2, and he is a significant step down in the people he has fought recently, especially the ones he has lost to. So I think that Gleison Tibau will probably win this one. I'm going to go for a decision victory, though. It's true to say that I may not know quite enough about Mike Rio to call this one well, because I was wondering, umming and ahhing about if he could or if he couldn't. I think my safe bet is to go for Francisco Trinaldo winning here. His record is 12-2 versus Mike Rio, who is 9-1. And it seems that the ones that Francisco has lost to are calibers at least higher than Mike Rio. But that's not saying very much. So I'm going to go for a Francisco Trinaldo win. I'm going to go for it by TKO in the 3rd, but I could be so wrong there. In my opinion, this stands the best chance of being fight of the night. This is Hakron Diaz, who has a record of 21-1, and Nick Lentz with a record of 23-5. Both have both are extremely exciting fighters. Both have very, very good records. Nick Lentz may have fought higher calibers, but he has lost to those. Hakron Diaz, I don't know, because a lot of his stuff is Shuto and M1 going back a little bit, so I don't know so much, but I am reliably told that that's, a really good institution. So, and he's done quite incredibly there. So, do you know, I'm going to go for Nick Lentz. That's maybe because I don't know Hakron Diaz very well, and also because I hope Nick Lentz wins. How? I don't know. But that is my prediction on that one. This next match, I think will be a submission fest. This is João Zeferino and Rafael Natal. 13-4 for the former, 15-4 for the latter. And they're both rather into submissions. They both do very well. They've both got long records and long winning streaks. But I do feel that Rafael Natal will probably come out on top here. This might be because if it goes horribly wrong on the ground with him, he will at least be able to fall back on being a striker as well. Whereas I don't think that João Zeferino will. So I'm going to go for Rafael Natal. I'll go for a bar submission in the third. In the match between Rafael dos Anjos, 18-6, and Evan Dunham, 14-3, I am going to say that I think that Evan's improvement, or shall I say, railing back onto the path of success that he sort of slipped a bit on a couple of fights ago, will continue. I think I'm going to go for a bar submission in the second. I do think that this could be very exciting. You know, Rafael dos Anjos and his background looks like it makes for a competitive fight, and I do think the onus here is on Evan Dunham to win, and win quite strongly, if he's going to show everybody that he's back into the sort of contention that he was prior to a string of losses maybe a year and a half ago. The question you have to ask yourself is, has Chris Camozzi improved his submission defence in the last 3 years? Because he is facing a very high caliber submission artist who is capable of submitting people well above his caliber. Ronaldo Souza, 17-3, is fighting Chris Camozzi, 19-5. 3 out of those 5 losses are submission losses, which is a worry. Especially when you consider that the technique he most wins by is decisions, because I don't know whether this guy Ronaldo is going to allow the match to sort of go on like that. You know, Chris Camozzi has gone up in the world in the last couple of years, but I don't know. I think Ronaldo Souza might win this one by submission.